Attorney Terrence Bradley testifying at Fanny Willis hearing. Part 2. The attorney has been sworn in.
He may have told you something, but it does not appear that there's any evidence that the client ever waived and allowed that information to be conveyed to you. Next question.
Thank you, Judge. All right, let's see. So, we talked about Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade coming to and from your office and security details following them. Do you recall that?
Do I need to look at my phone?
No.
Okay. Just asking if you recall.
Do I recall?
Yeah.
I think I did, yes.
Do you recall security taking Ms. Willis to your office?
I'm going to check to that.
Does he recall Ms. Willis taking her?
But you can answer the question, sir.
I do recall security detail bringing Ms. Willis to my office.
Okay. Do you recall approximately when that was?
I do not.
And was that on more than one occasion?
I remember 2 occasions.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell me about those?
I can't remember when they were.
Were they before she became DA?
So I don't know if she had a security detail before she became DA. So, I mean, if she was sworn in, or I don't remember the dates, but I do remember. I think she was DA.
Maybe during her transition team period? Was that?
No, it wasn't. I'm trying to remember. She would have had to have been the DA, I think. And I don't want to go on, I think. But I do remember twice her coming to our office, correct?
And she had a security team both of those times.
There was yes, she had a security team with her.
And do you believe that it's a different security team than she has now?
I don't know her security team now.
Well, let me ask.
However,
I'm sorry.
I don't know her security team now. I don't know her security team now.
Do you remember telling me that it changed at some point, her security team?
Yes, I think I recall saying that, yes.
And that the most likely people that could testify or had seen things about them having a romantic relationship early on would be the original security team.
I don't recall saying that, no, but
do you recall talking to me about other people that might have known about their romantic relationship?
I recall.
Yeah, objection based on we don't know the source. This is based on privileged information or it's hearsay. Neither one.
It's neither. I asked if you recall.
You need to clarify. If you're actually going to if you think that this draws on information from outside the relationship that he's already testified to, then you need to lay that foundation. That's sustained.
He said, I'll give you business class flights, I'll put you up for...
I did not.
Okay. And so he asked you to use your card for the travel.
Yes, I mean, I'm assuming. I mean, we would use the card for firm stuff, and so it was a business card.
Your business card, though,
It
not
was my business card, yes.
Right.
In the office of Terrence and Bradley, correct.
Okay. So it showed up on your accounts.
That is correct.
Okay. Wouldn't show up on his accounts, then, correct?
That would be accurate, yes.
Do you know if this was before he became special DA in this case? Special prosecutor? see he and Miss Willis together? You said you were in and out of the office, in and out of the DA's office. You saw them together, correct?
In and out of my office or the DA's office?
The DA's office.
Correct.
You saw them together in and out of the DA's office.
Did I see them in and out?
Yes.
Well, if you preface it like that, no. I saw him in and out of the office when I would be there doing my filter work for the tank team.
Okay.
He would come by. I rarely saw Miss Willis and Mr. Wade together in the DA's office.
So, we're on the tank team. Let's talk about that for a minute. Tell me about, you did work as, you had a contract as a tank lawyer, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And that was in the anti-corruption unit?
Yes, I think so. Yes, correct.
And how did you get that contract?
What do you mean, how did I get it?
How did you get the contract?
It was...
Did you apply online?
Oh, no. It was proposed.
By who?
We were... it was proposed by... I guess it came from the district attorney. I mean, I didn't speak directly with her. It was with Mr. Wade, and he asked if we would be interested in having a contract with Fulton County.
Okay. He asked you,
I said,
Mr. Campbell?
I think so. I mean, I can't recall if he asked us both together or not. Rarely. We all handled several, different things for the firm.
Okay.
Criminal, personal injury, things like that, family law. And so, rarely were we together there at the same time, like for an abundance of time. So, he may have called me and then he may have called Chris. I can't recall how we got the contract, but
Was Mr. Wade, to your knowledge, part of the transition team for Miss Willis?
To my knowledge, he was part of the transition team.
Did he spend a lot of time at that office during this transition period?
He did.
So from when Miss Willis took office to when you left the firm, did Mr. Wade spend most of his time at the DA's office?
When you say most of his time, you're saying just working business hours?
Yes,
or
working business hours.
I would say he spent I would probably say he spent majority of time. If you say over 51%, I would say yes, he spent over 51% of his time.
Okay. And that was the entire time from when she took office to when you left the firm?
I can't say that was the entire time, but yes, it was majority of it was I can't pinpoint specifically when the time that he would spend. I think if my memory serves correctly, getting to the majority of the time, it would have been whenever he started with this, maybe.
As a special prosecutor?
When you say majority of the time.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about the time before he became special prosecutor. Did he spend a lot of time at the DA's office then?
He spent time. I mean, it depends on what you say is a lot. He spent time at the DA's office, correct?
And so, just so we're clear, you were hired first on January 25th. Both you and Mr. Campbell were law partners, and you were both hired by the DA January 25th, 2021. Is that correct?
Repeat the question, I'm sorry.
You and Mr. Campbell
Yes.
both were hired on a contract basis by DA Willis January 25th, 2021, correct?
Which contract are you talking
The
about?
first one, the tank contract. Not the first appearance contract, the tank
Okay.
contract.
Well, you said the first one, and the tank contract wasn't the first contract, and so,
Okay, so what was the first contract?
to my knowledge, the first contract was the first appearance.
Okay, so let me just mark these as one. 23, 24, 25, 26, Judge, when they're done reviewing these contracts. Mr. Riley, showing notes with Mark. Exhibit 23, 24, and 25. Those. There are other people that you believe would have known about when their relationship began.
I object to the relevance of that. Again, the witness has testified he has no firsthand information of it. Anything he knows about the topic came from representation. Who he thinks might have been able to say something else is speculation, not relevant to anything, and a backdoor to get in the gossip and innuendo that has been pretty much this entire.
All right. Okay, Ms. Merchant, I think we're getting to the point where, the reason I thought this line of questioning was appropriate was to rebut certain emphasis about why we were here in the first place.
Right.
But to go into it at the granular level, I'm not as wild about. So maybe you can ask more overarching questions, and if you have anything else you think that's relevant, then you can get to those as well.
Isn't that true that I gave you a copy of the motion to disqualify in this case? I emailed it to you, and you read it, reviewed it, and emailed me back that everything in it was accurate, to your knowledge.
You emailed me, and I.
Objection.
Okay. All right. So there are things contained within that, Ms. Merchant, which he has now said fell within the privilege, and that he did not have the ability to waive. So I think that's where we have to leave it there.
And I believe I still have to ask the questions, and then if he wants to assert the privilege.
Well, I think we pretty much already established the privilege, and the objection has been made. I think it's a valid one at this point based on the record. So the answer was he did acknowledge that you sent him the motion, and I think we'll leave it at that.
And you had knowledge about an apartment. I'm not asking what Mr. Wade told you in furtherance of legal advice, but you had knowledge about an apartment in East Point or a condo in East Point that was owned by someone, and Miss Willis was staying there.
Judge, privilege.
I think in the way the question's phrased, she qualified that. So
I did not have knowledge.
You did not have knowledge.
I did not have personal knowledge at all. No,
So no knowledge outside of what is privileged.
that's correct.
Did you have texts between yourself, Ms. Willis, and Mr. Wade?
Do I?
Have you ever?
I have. Maybe once or twice, but
Did Mr. Wade ever ask to use your credit card to pay for trips?
Objection.
on
On privilege. Is it on the same thing?
just asking to use your credit card, how's that in the nature of furthering a divorce proceeding?
We were talking.
I have a business card, and we would use my business card. The firm would use my business card.
For travel?
Are you asking if I use my business card for travel?
Would Mr. Wade use your business card for travel?
I recall I recall a trip, but I don't know if that trip has anything to do with this case. So I do recall him using my card once.
When was that?
I don't even know when that was, and that sounds true. I recall him using my card once, but I cannot remember what that was for. I do remember it was a trip, but I cannot actually state, where it was and who it was with or anything like that.
And he paid you back for that trip in cash?
I can't remember how he paid. I think it was. I mean, I'm not certain if it was cash or check. We routinely would use my card for filings, for paper, for whatever stuff with the office.
But this is I'm sorry. You're done, sorry.
And so he would, whether he paid me back in cash or whether he wrote a check, it was paid back to the business card.
But this was the only time he had used it for travel.
I cannot recall. I don't even have that business card anymore. But I do recall at least once for travel, yes.
And that was when you were still law partners with him, though, correct?
That is correct.
Do you recall approximately when that was?
I do not.
You did not go on that travel with him, though, correct?
I did not.
Okay. And so he asked you to use your card for the travel.
And safe.
So now that you've reviewed those, is it true that on January 25th, 2021, you got your first contract as a taint lawyer?
As a taint lawyer, yes, I see the date on that as a taint lawyer, but I'm also looking at this contract here for first appearance, and there must have been, I don't have it before me, but there must have been a contract before this.
Okay, so you think there's a fourth contract?
I can't say that there is or isn't. What I do know is that we did first appearance during COVID, and it was before 2021. So I don't know, if I had a contract, a written contract at that particular time or anything, but I do know, I think that you could look at the recordings because everything was recorded at that time as to when the first appearance contract started and the taint contract started.
So when the three of you were partners, you had at least two contracts to do taint work, which is filter work, and then at least two contracts to do first appearance work, pretty much throughout that entire 2 years, right?
Well, it renewed. So, it just renewed. So, yes, it was the same contract, but it was a renewal of.
Okay. And so how did you? And you said you got these contracts through Miss Willis gave them to you, but it was through her knowing Mr. Wade, correct?
Yes. I didn't have a meeting with Miss Willis or anything. It was brought to the attention that a contract was going to be needed or awarded, and if I was interested, because this was on mine, and I said yes. And so
Mr. Wade brought that to your attention?
He asked if I was interested in doing the contract, correct. And then after that is when Miss Willis, would come in, or I think we actually came down here or something, and signed the contract.
Okay. And so that is how you were paid from Fulton County, these contracts?
From Fulton County government, yes, ma'am.
And you shared, your partnership, you shared a third of all your profits with Mr. Wade?
At that time, yes.
And so his contracts, he got a contract that same year, 2021, and he shared a third of all his profits with you, correct?
Yes, that should be fairly accurate.
Okay. So during 2021, 2022, you all had 2 filter taint contracts, you had 2 first appearance contracts, and you had Mr. Wade's special counsel contracts, correct?
My firm had what I have here, correct?
But Mr. Campbell and Mr. Wade were part of your firm, correct?
So, I don't think at this time we had established WBC.
Okay.
At this time, I think it was, I had mine, Chris had his, Nathan had his, and we operated in the same building. But if you asked me, did we fee share or, without everything that came in, yes, that is correct.
So you weren't actually partnering, just fee share?
At this time, well, yes, at this time, we were not. At this time, I had Law Officer Terrence Bradley, Chris Campbell, PC, and whatever Nathan's was, if I'm not mistaken.
And all these the taint contracts and then Nathan's special counsel contracts, all of those were under the anti-corruption unit, correct?
First appearance was not under that. The taint contract, if I recall, was under the. I don't think they called it. What are you calling it?
You can take a look at your contract if you need.
Okay.
And I'm not asking about the first appearance. I'm asking about the taint contracts and then Mr. Wade's contract, which has already been admitted in evidence if you need to look at that. When you're done reading.
Well, I see on the first page where it says taint attorney, and I'm trying to go through it and I see where it continues says taint attorney, but it always says Fulton County District Attorney's Office. Your question was specific as to the anti-corruption unit, and I'm looking for the verbiage of anti-corruption unit, so I apologize.
No, take your time. No, take your time.
And see, on both pages, it starts out Fulton County District Attorney's Office, and then it just goes to initials FCDA, unless I'm overlooking where it says the anti-corruption unit, then the contract was with the FCDA. Unless you want to show me something.
I'm just asking you, and I didn't know if that would refresh your memory. Those contracts were for the anti-corruption unit, right?
Well, they were for the
Is that who you worked for?
I worked for the DA.
Okay.
I worked for the DA.
Okay, so just in general, the DA.
Correct. I worked for Fulton County District Attorney's Office as a contract person, as it says here.
And when you did the taint work, you had to report to Sonia Allen?
I did not.
You did not. Who did you report to then?
I can't remember his name. His first name was Brian.
Okay. And let's see. So I know you said you met with Miss Willis when you signed those contracts, right?
Yes, I know I met at least one time to sign these contracts, or to sign when I signed the contracts, yes.
Did you meet with her any other times?
I did not personally meet with Miss Willis any other time. When you say meet, what do you mean meet? What?
Talk with her. Meet with her.
I mean, I would see Miss Willis in passing if I'm walking through the office and something like that. But no, I didn't have any meetings with Miss Willis.
Okay, so the only times you met with her were when you signed those contracts.
Clarify meet with. I mean, I
Sat down and had a conversation with her.
I signed these contracts, so when I signed these, I met with her to say that I sat down and spoke with Miss Willis. Are you saying in life, and you saying during this time? What are you asking me?
I mean, if it's voluminous, I can narrow down the times, but I wasn't in
First person, I haven't really heard a point in a while. Can we get along to something,
Yes.
or we're going to have to wrap it up?
So I had one more question about your texts. Have you ever been in any group text with anybody other than with me and somebody other than Mr. Chopra and Mr. Merchant?
You got to narrow that down. I'm sure
I
many
can
times.
look at my phone.
No, with him, if there have been any other texts. And I think the state had some things in rebuttal they mentioned, so I was just trying to clean that up before it got there.
He gave us, and when he called, it was out of the blue. But he did call, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you relayed that to me as well, correct?
I did.
And then you also got a call from your best friend who was relaying a message to you from Mr. Wade, correct?
No, I got a call saying that he got a call, not that a message that was supposed to be relayed to me. The call was,
I'm going to check if there's a hearsay. The responsible call for hearsay. Thus far, it hasn't.
Sure. So here's the objection as to the contents of the call, Ms. Merchant.
I believe the contents of the call were to remember your privilege. I took that as a threat. I think Mr. Bradley took it as a threat. I think he would testify to that.
Well, he hasn't testified to it. He also said there wasn't any message relayed by Mr. Wade or any party.
Well, no, he didn't say that by any party.
Right.
So, assuming he did hear something from a party, what's the hearsay exception for that, Ms. Merchant?
I believe that it was a threat, so it's a statement against interest. I'm sorry, it's a if he took it as a threat to influence his testimony, then it's not hearsay. That would be admissible.
All right, so
I did not take it as a threat.
if you're saying it's to the effect on the listener, perhaps,
Yes.
then we'll go from there.
Were you told to remember your privilege?
Then the witness just testified he didn't take it as a threat.
Understood. I'll overrule the objection. The testimony given the weight it deserves.
Can you repeat the question?
Were you told to remember your privilege?
I was not
the witness. There may be a potential witness now in the courtroom. It's the person that Ms. Merchant is referring to is sitting in the courtroom.
If that witness hasn't been told to testify, then I don't see any sequestration issues.
I don't know who it is. I don't know his name.
Okay, and so were you told anything to that effect, Mr. Bradley?
Repeat the question one more time, but so I was not told, remember my privilege.
Something about privilege. Remembering that.
months after.
Did you call me quickly thereafter then?
I talked to you that day, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Sit down.
Your Honor, because this is a defense witness, is it the state's first cross? I think that's how we had been doing it yesterday.
No, actually, we do it just this way.
Yeah, I've not been.
Okay.
This is the first time he's gone. And then we go through all the defense, and then you'll have your chance.
Some foundation questions to begin with, please. Your testimony as you began representing Mr. Wade as his attorney on what date or what approximate date?
I didn't have an approximate date.
Give me an approximate date when you began acting as Mr. Wade's attorney.
I would say it was, if I'm speculating.
I really don't want you to speculate. I mean, you're the one that was the attorney and Mr. Wade was the client.
Correct.
So give us the ballpark figure of when it was that you began acting as his attorney.
Maybe 2017, 2018, I think, maybe.
And the purpose for which you were retained?
His divorce.
So, according to you, from that time period, your communications with Mr. Wade with regard to the divorce or any matters related to the divorce, your position are confidential, are privileged, correct?
As you come on to the page, kindly hit the like bell and don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so as yet. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Now, did you ever meet with Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade prior to, and everything I'm asking you is prior to November of 2021, okay? Keep that in mind. That's...
Why are you yelling?
I don't think he's yelling, Mr. Bradley. He's just speaking up. All right, Mr. Sedal, let's go.
Okay, thank you. Prior to Mr. Wade getting his contract with Fulton County, which was November 1st of 2021, okay? Please keep that in mind.
November 1st, 2021.
Right. Did you ever socialize with Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis prior to November 1st of 2021?
I've never socialized with Mr. Wade or Ms. Willis in any setting. If you're asking, have I ever met with them, then I would say yes. But when you say socialize, what do you mean socialize?
Have you ever gone out to eat with both of them?
Before 2021, I do not.
Or November 1st of 2021?
Out to eat with both of them before. When was she sworn in? I'm sorry. When was she sworn in? There was a dinner before. When she was sworn in that I attended. Shaquille O'Neal was there, so it was like her inauguration dinner. So I'm thinking that's before 2021. So I would say yes.
Let's assume, for purposes of my question, that
Yes,
that's in early January of 2021.
That is early January 2021. So yes, it would be before November. So if it was January, yes, that dinner would have been in, I'm assuming, January.
Okay. And any other time that you socialized, went out to eat, went to anyone's home? You know what socialized is.
Exactly. So no, I did not socialize with Mr. Willis. With Miss Willis and Mr. Wade.
So, prior to November 1st of 2021, did Miss Willis come to your offices? Your offices, the offices that you shared with Mr. Wade.
I think she came once or twice to our office, correct?
And the purpose for which she came?
I don't know. We had separate offices. I do recall. I do recall some type of meeting office. And I don't know what that was about. I wasn't a part of those meetings. There was a meeting. There were other people there. There were other people from the, I want to say DA's office there, maybe.
Okay. Let's go back to the basics. Ms. Willis came to your offices, on a couple different occasions.
I recall Ms. Willis coming to my office at least twice.
And on at least one of those occasions, or you tell us, did Ms. Willis meet privately with Mr. Wade in his office that you observed or heard?
I can't recall.
You can't recall?
No.
Did she ever meet with you in your office? Ms. Willis, no.
Privately in my office? No. I've never met privately in any office with her outside of signing this contract.
Did Mr. Wade, prior to November 1st of 2021, ever talk to you about socializing with Ms. Willis?
I can't recall.
You can't recall?
You're asking me if he ever mentioned to me that he socialized
with Ms. Willis, correct?
And I'm saying I cannot recall if he socialized with Ms. Willis, if he ever mentioned to me that he socialized.
Did he ever mention to you that he ate or went out to dinner with Ms. Willis? Again, time period before November 1st of 2021.
Did he, that's your question,
Mr. Wade ever tell you prior to November 1st of 2021 that he had socialized, gone out to eat, visited Ms. Willis in anything other than a professional setting?
I'm sure he did, maybe. I don't recall any specifics of any dinners, any specific places. It's been 3 years ago, the time frame, but I do not recall at this time whether or not he ever mentioned any dinners or socializing.
Did Mr. Wade mention to you that he visited Miss Willis at Miss Willis's then current abode, which would have been a place, not her original house, but a place she was staying in the period of 2021 before November 1 of 2021? And his question is, did Mr. Wade ever tell you that he visited Miss Willis at her house?
I don't think I can answer that.
Yeah, privilege based on communication by client, also based on
Mr. State, I'm going to try and rephrase the question you can, but otherwise that would be sustained.
On both grounds or just on the privilege ground?
I didn't hear a second ground.
The hearsay ground.
That would be on privilege alone.
Did you talk to Mr. Wade at all about his relationship with Miss Willis prior to November 1st of 2021?
I think he's just laying a record, Mr. Wade. It's okay. And so on those same grounds, Mr. State, on all subsequent grounds, apparently the relationship with Miss Willis in any way is covered by privilege according to this witness.
Well, I think the key words, respectfully, Your Honor, are according to this witness. So I'm trying to drill down to see if there are communications that are not within the privilege.
Sure. So then we need to acknowledge the privilege in the form of your question, right?
You're asking me to ask it as in a way saying, are there any non-privileged?
Essentially.
Okay. Did you ever communicate with Mr. Wade prior to November 1st of 2021 about Ms. Willis that was not privileged?
We discussed this contract, but
this contract doesn't help. You have to give me a exhibit number, please.
You said before November 2021?
November 1st of 2021.
before this contract for 125-21 is before that. So I mean, we discussed this contract.
Okay. And if I remember correctly, again, just give me that exhibit number so we can reference
Exhibit 23.
Okay, hold on 1 second. 1 second. On Exhibit 23, did I understand you to say that it was Mr. Wade that Effect brought you and Ms. Willis together for the contract?
That would be accurate, yes.
Okay. And what did you understand was the relationship at that point between Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade, for Mr. Wade to be able to bring you to Ms. Willis for the contract?
As you come on to the page, kindly hit the like bell and don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so as yet. Thank you.
It's not a hard question. It's
No,
really
I'm just say that again.
Mr. Wade is the one that basically says to you, go see Ms. Willis about this contract, right? That's a yes, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
So Mr. Wade had to have some knowledge, I would assume,
Yes.
right? That you going to Ms. Willis might bring you the contract,
I
right?
never went to Miss Willis. So I stated I never went to Miss Willis. I was told about that there was a potential contract, and I was asked by Mr. Wade if I would be interested in doing that contract.
And my question to you is, what was the basis that you understood Mr. Wade being able to potentially offer you that contract on Ms. Willis's behalf?
I'm going to object to that. That's a mischaracterization. Mr. Wade offered it to him. I think he said he expressed interest. And also, I don't see the relevance of this at all.
So just in terms of relevance or phrasing, I'll overrule on those grounds. So the question is standing unobjected to, Mr. Bradley.
Can you repeat the question?
You've explained to us how the contract
Yes.
came to you, correct? My question is, what was your understanding of the relationship of Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis for it to have been offered, or whatever word you want to use, for him to have said, expressed to you whether you had an interest in the contract?
Privilege.
All right.
Mr. Evans is no privilege to my question, so Mr. Sayal, I think you need to clarify whether
Was it a privileged conversation that you had with Mr. Wade that let you know about the contract?
or he knows the relationship is the question you're focused on.
Is the nature... I'm trying to do it in such a way, and I understand what the court said. Was the relationship that I asked you about just now between Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis that gave rise to the contract, did you know about that relationship as a result of an attorney-client communication?
No, I knew of that through whatever work they did together as municipal court judges.
And how did you know that? Who told you about the work that they did together as municipal court judges?
Mr. Wade told me that they did work at some conference.
Okay, now, this would have been something that Mr. Wade said, according to your time period, at the time that you were representing Mr. Wade, correct?
Say that again? Ask that again?
Mr. Wade would have told you what you just told the court after you had established an attorney-client relationship with Mr. Wade, correct?
Yes, but when he told me of them being at a conference, I mean, I'm not understanding how relate. I'm trying to understand your question.
Well, my question is basically, you had communications with Mr. Wade directly that were not attorney-client privilege, right?
I've had conversations with Mr. Wade that were not attorney-client privilege, yes.
That involved Ms. Willis, correct?
I just stated that they were at a conference. I don't know whether or not that involved her or not.
Well, if he's talking about her, that is, if Mr. Wade is telling you about Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade having met at a conference, right? Then he's talking about Miss Willis, correct?
Yes, but he also told me about other people that he met at the conference.
But he told you about Miss Willis as well, correct?
I think so, yes.
Okay. So there were communications in which Miss Willis was at least a topic that was not covered by attorney-client privilege, correct?
This particular instance, I was told about a conference. And
when were you told this?
I can't remember the dates of the conference, but it would have been after the conference.
Okay, well, I'm trying to get just the time period here. After the conference, I want you to understand from the record, I believe we've shown that the conference was sometime in October of 2019. Okay, so could you give us an idea, that being a fact, when you would have had this communication about meeting with Miss Willis at the conference, Mr. Wade meeting Miss Willis at the conference?
If that's the conference that they were at, yes, then I don't know how many municipal court conferences there are. I do know that at the time that I was in the firm, Mr. Wade was he had some position with the municipal court.
Right now, my only question is time-wise. Assuming it's October 2019, when do you tend to remember? What's your best recollection of when Mr. Wade told you about?
I can't remember because I didn't even remember that it was October 2019 until you said that.
Okay. So you don't have a present recollection?
I do not remember that, though.
Had to be before the contract, though, in January of 2021, correct?
That they met?
No, that you were told about Mr. Wade and Miss Willis meeting at the conference had to be before.
Oh, yeah, right? Yes, it would have been before that, yes.
So, what other communications did you have with Mr. Wade about Miss Willis that are not privileged? We know of one, about the meeting at the conference. Are you suggesting that that's the only one you ever had about Miss Willis that isn't?
I cannot recall any. I cannot recall.
You cannot recall whether there were any other communications that weren't privileged? I'll be specific, and I understand there's probably going to be objections, but I want to correct it in flesh. Did you have a conversation with Mr. Wade prior to November 1st of 2021 about Mr. Wade dating Miss Willis?
Mr. Wade has risen. An objection is sustained for the record. Excuse me, Mr. Evans.
Say that again?
You don't have to answer the question. Next question.
Well, I understand it's been objected to and the court has sustained the objection. Can you tell us the circumstances under which Mr. Wade may have told you about dating? What I want to do is try to figure out if we can. You tell me if you want me. If I can do this. I'd like to know how the communications themselves took place, where they took place, how they took place, under what circumstance, whether he was at the time providing advice or seeking advice. So those are the basics. I can ask as to all those, but if the court's going to sustain the objection to those, then I don't want to waste your time.
And that's something I'll cover in camera. So I'll note the question and your question for the record, and I'll sustain the privilege objection to that.
Okay. All of this prior to November 1st, 2021. Okay? I'm going to show you two text messages.
That was the end of part 2 of Attorney Terrence Bradley's testimony at Fanny Willis hearing. As you leave the page, kindly hit the like bell and don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so as yet. Thank you.